This is HAM'S Barber Shop. This has this historical marker. We'll look at later. And we're gonna meet, hello Mike. This is Mike Goldsby, and he owns the barber shop. And he redid the barber shop, and he's gonna tell us all about it.
Well, welcome to HAM'S Barber Shop in Turkey, Texas. This barber shop is the oldest in Turkey, and it was the first in Turkey. The first barber shop in Turkey in 1911. And it had various different places in Turkey, one of which burned down, and the other one was over here in the bank building. But by 1925, they built this structure here. And from 1925, there was 4 generations or 5 generations of the Ham family that barbered here. I acquired the building once it had closed for maybe 30 years, and the door was locked. I knew the granddaughter who owned it, and we talked and talked. It took a couple years for her to turn loose of it, but I worked very closely with the Texas Historical Commission and the Hall County Historical Commission to try to restore buildings and bring them back to life. I was lucky enough to do the research and got a Texas historical marker for HAM'S Barber Shop, and it's right outside on the front sidewalk. But if you take a look at the barber shop here, this is a time capsule. This is 1925. If you walked into HAM'S Barber Shop in 1925, this is what you would see. Bob Wills is from Turkey, Texas. He wasn't born here, but he came here as a young child. And when he was old enough, he was tired of picking cotton. So he decided he would do something different. He attended Dindy's Barber College in Amarillo in 1927, had a short stint as a barber in Roy, New Mexico, very short, returned back to Turkey and worked. Now I've replaced his chair right here with a shampoo bowl, okay. But his chair would be here. Bob Wills worked right here. And he worked here from 1928 to 1929. And he had his fiddle right here, and between customers, he would fiddle. He would walk out on the sidewalk and draw quite a crowd. And Floyce Ham, F.O. Ham, Floyce Ham, in those days, it was a running business. And here's Bob Wills fiddling and doing and fiddling. He said, can't we get back to business? Can't we get back to cutting hair? He's got customers on the bench, and here's Bob Wills playing the fiddle. But most of them, I would say, came in to hear the fiddle. They didn't care so much about the haircut. But in their day, there was no city sewage, no city plumbing. And so this was the only building in which they had a cistern under this floor in the back of the building. And cowboys could come in. So water's kind of scarce in West Texas. So they would come in after not having a shower, maybe for a month. They would come into the barber shop, go through this door, and it was like a well water. They would pull it up and have a shower and have a bath in the back and get a clean shave and what have you. They go next door to Lacey Dry Goods and get some, 25 cents will get you some clothes, and they were good for a Saturday night. So you could get you a shave and a haircut. There's a shoe shine right here. All of this is original. The shoe shine is original from 1924-25. And of course it's been, I had to sand it down and redo and what have you, but it's as solid as it was 100 years ago. And this barbershop right now in 2026 is 101 years old, and it's in service every day now. So I restored it a few years back, and I've got a barber that is local that comes in here every day of the week, and she'll barber. And when she's not here, she has a sign in the door, just call me. And she's right down the road, and she'll come up here and cut your hair. So if you want to come into HAM'S Barber Shop and step back in time and have you a good shave, have your hair cut and what have you, well, you can get it done right here in Turkey, Texas. No problem. On Bob Wills Day, which is tomorrow, on Saturday, we have a shoe shine guy coming early at 7 in the morning. We've got a barber here and a barber here. And they'll give you a straight razor shave, they'll give you a haircut, all that. We do all this for free. So if you want to come in and get your haircut and all that, all day Bob Wills from 7 to 7. We'll cut your hair. You can tip them if you care to tip them, but they'll do all of those things for you. And it's pretty active. The bench is going to be full tomorrow, all day long. It's a very active place. This right here, this is from 1932. It still works. You put your nickel in there and it'll tell you your fortune. It's very accurate to a couple pounds. But
those things lie.
Yes. So every barbershop would have had something like this. Maybe this, maybe a little bit taller, what have you. These things here are original to Ham's Barber Shop. These are from 1925. When I restored this building, I had to maybe restore this a little bit and put some new glass. But you can tell the phone number. Phone number is number 62 on Main Street. All of these things, the Right Spot Cafe, Turkey Hardware, and the International Tractor Dealer Company was here. Those things are not here anymore. They're long gone. And there's a tractor right across the street. An older gentleman was showing me that he bought from the international company that was here at the time. So down here,
Very familiar. That board for the little ones.
this right here is original to the building. When I was restoring the building, I found this. If you had a child that couldn't quite reach, well, that child could sit here. Or if they were a small child, you could flip it over.
Got a little height.
And this upholstery and this, everything here is original. I didn't do anything to this. The barbers that will be here tomorrow, they'll be using this quite a bit.
Wow.
Quite a bit. I was very lucky. There's a local man in town. He's passed now. But Claude Robinson, he allowed me to display his FFA turkey, Texas turkey. His jacket. Here's his name in that right here. From 1965 and 1966. And he's a well-known man here. Him and his brother Jimbo. But I came across his jacket and quite by accident. And I asked him, I said, Claude, would it be okay if I display it permanently in the barbershop? I'd love to do that. He said, by all means, do that. But like I say, bless him, he's passed. And so his FFA jacket is here. I have not seen another one from Turkey. Because Turkey at any given time might have had maybe 13 or 16 or something graduates. And the Turkey High School closed down in 1973. So this is a treasure for us. It certainly is. We have these horns up here. Were originally to the building. I heard that these came from Old Mexico, and Harold Ham brought them back with him somewhere in the mid 50s. And I put them back up on the wall when I remodeled the place. All of these, when I was restoring, I found all these pictures in the back and I framed them. These are from the early 20s all the way through 1947, and the way that the barbershop used to be. And you can tell in this picture, there's the shoe shine boy, and if you zoom in, you see he's got a cigarette in his mouth. So he was probably 12 years old. So the barbershop has gone through a little bit of change along the years. You can see in this picture Harold Ham, the young child is sitting on the board while he's cutting his hair. This last picture is of Harold in the 90s, right before he closed the barbershop, with no business, looking out the front window, wondering when the next customer might come in. And you can tell from when it was such a busy, it was a busy barbershop, and then he has, no customers, and ultimately shut it down about 25, 30 years ago.
Do you know the boy?
The locals do know the boy, and his name is written on the back of this, but I forget. Harold, this man right here is in this picture right here. And this was probably in 1947, and he is that man right there in that picture. And it's the Ham family that owned this barbershop. An interesting story, when I got the historical marker, Floyce Oliver Ham was 15 years old and lived in Beaver, Oklahoma. He left the family farm, came from Beaver straight south to Turkey. He was 15 and opened up a barbershop in 1911. And his name is on the front window, F.O. Ham, Floyce Oliver. And he opened up the barbershop. It was in 2 or 3 different places in Turkey, but he ultimately built this building here. So Floyce Oliver was the founder. Ultimately, Harold Ham was really the last barber of the Ham family. But myself and my wife own Ham's Barber Shop, and we try to keep it as original as possible. So when you walk in here, it pretty well looks like it did in 1925. I have these antique mirrors here. The brick was never really exposed. When I came in here, unfortunately, the mirrors were cracked. I couldn't reuse them. And so what I did, my wife and I found these antique mirrors from the day, And so these mirrors we placed, and my wife repainted the brick this color, and we regrouted the brick. So
Wow.
that's milk brick. It was never really meant to be exposed,
Yeah.
but we did it anyway. We repainted it and hung the mirrors. So that seemed more appropriate.
That gives it that authentic touch.
It got a very authentic touch.
The barber's bar and the phone.
Okay, well, every old barber shop before electricity, right? Before you, we have right outside we have a pole that's turning. Well, Turkey didn't get electricity until 1926. Well, this building was built in 1925, so they had no electricity originally. And I've been up in the attic here, and I see where they had to retrofit the building in 1926 for electricity. That's when all these lights and everything went in. This pole, I must say, I have some old pictures of what their barber pole looked like. And so I painstakingly got the pieces and parts myself, and we redid the pole. And so this would have been a wooden pole that you would, in the morning, they would set it outside on the sidewalk. And tomorrow morning, when we start cutting hair, this will be out on the sidewalk.
Wow.
So this is HAM'S Barber Shop. This would have been their pole out on the sidewalk in 1925.
It advertises baths too, huh?
You could get a bath, you could get a shoe shine for 5 cents, and you might be able to get clean water in your bath for another 5 cents. So,
Original phone.
yeah. Now this phone, it's I don't know that it's original, but well, I say I don't know it's original. It's obviously, from the early 60s, maybe late 50s. So I don't know when it was actually installed, what have you, but the building is from 1925, so I don't have any old phones back then. And they honestly, they didn't have phone service in Turkey back then.
Yeah.
So when they were able to get a phone and able to get things, these things came in.
He was the district champs in 1969.
This is 1969. This is Vicky Ham. This is the woman that we acquired and her sister. This was her jacket. I found it in the back, and I asked her if I could display it. So, 1969, she went to Turkey High School over here in town, and the high school has a historical marker as well. That's where all the Bob Wills activities take place, the dance and that type of thing. The Bob Wills Foundation has taken over the old high school, and so that's where they do. But in 1969, it was still open, it was still a high school, and she attended high school, got her letter jacket. So, but they closed the high school down in 73 and consolidated with Briscoe County to form Valley School. And now they have a school about 5 miles right down the road. This is Turkey football team from 1933. When I originally got the barbershop, it was hanging right here. It was hanging here, and you might, in some of those pictures, you could see it hanging there, but I didn't have room for it there, so we decided to relocate it there. The ceiling fans are ceiling fans that you would find in a barber shop from, say, 1880s through maybe 1920 or maybe 1928, somewhere in there. They run off a single motor on the end, and they run off leather fan belts or leather belts. And each one of these fans has 2 pulleys on it, and you could run probably 100 fans off of one motor. So if this building went all around and around and around, you could have a lot of fans run off one motor. So the Hunter Fan Company didn't invent these fans with the motor on the fan until much later. So in the early days, in the 1880s, they would have a single motor with leather fan belts running your fans. And so originally HAM'S Barber Shop didn't have these, but I searched and searched, and I found an old building in Oklahoma City, over 100 years old, that a friend of mine called me and said, I think you, these are the fans you're looking for. And so I'm from the Houston area. I drove from there and that day up to Oklahoma City, and I got them. I was like, I'm gonna install these fans. But it was a chore, but they work real well. The only thing really modern, I say the only thing, I did have to put some air conditioning here because it does get rather warm or cold, and so the modern amenities are nice for your customers. All the lighting, all the electricity it's all modern. Every bit of it was done professionally. Plumbing was all done professionally, but I did all the woodwork, the ceiling and the walls, and this is the finished product.
It's beautiful.
Well, thank you very much. It's functional. We have a barber here, like I say, that comes in every day of the week. She lives right down the road. Her name is Paige Wheeler, and like I say, lives right down the road. And so like I said, and I said earlier, if she's not here, her cell number's in the window, and you just give her a call.
Okay.
Can you meet me down at the barber shop? That's the way you do it in a small town.
Well, I would appreciate your taking your time, and we fascinating to learn this.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll share it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I could talk your ear off about this and other things going on in
Well,
town.
I love it.
Because Turkey, if nothing else, Mike Goldsby, I'm about heritage. And I've written 2 books, and I'm on another third. I'm on chapter 12, and I hope to be done soon. And a lot of it is to do with the West Texas and Texas history in general. And one of the historical markers in town is the result of one of the books. It has to do with this road right here. The road in 1916, they started a road at the White House. If you're ever at the White House, there's a historical marker, and it's a mile marker, and it's mile marker 0, and it says Bankhead Highway. And people say, what is a Bankhead Highway? In 1916, they started a road at the White House going all the way to San Diego. When the road, by 1920 got to Texas, it split. And one part of the road went from Texarkana, Dallas, Wichita, Mineral Wells down that way. Highway 20, if you will, out that way to El Paso. The scenic route is a northern split. So out of Hot Springs, Arkansas, it went through southern Oklahoma, the Panhandle, New Mexico, and then it rejoined at El Paso, and it went out to San Diego. So this road right here is a historic road. It was the only paved highway in those days.
Currently Main Street.
Yes, currently Main Street. In the 20s, 1926, right in there, all of the United States went from the quaint highway, like the Mike's Highway, the Bankhead Highway, to the numbering system. So now this is a State Highway 86. Mm-hmm. But in those days, it was the Bankhead Highway. Right here at the barbershop, they had a clicker, if you will, and they clicked 1,600,000 cars in 1923, came through Turkey, Texas. So what I'm saying about the railroad coming through, the railroad came through in 1928. The first passenger train, they laid the track in 27, but November the 20th, 1928, they had a big celebration in town, the train came, and that was the first time that this spur was open. Fort Worth and Denver Railroad had a spur that came through here. People said, "Oh, the railroad brought prosperity to Turkey," but in fact, the Bankhead Highway was already here, and the infrastructure was already here by the time the railroad came. So by the time the railroad came in 28, everything you see, there was 12 gas stations, many grocery stores, several motor courts, 2 banks, 2 surgical hospitals. The infrastructure here was here. There was probably 2,000 people living here, and the railroad came through, which was great. It helped. It did help put Turkey on the map. But it wasn't the catalyst for growth that people might think a railroad would have done. I don't want to minimize it. It was a big deal. But the Bankhead Highway brought people from the East Coast and West Coast, tourists bring money. Money brings opportunity, and these little towns grew that were on the Bankhead Highway. So I did the research on that and wrote a book about it. And the book and the historical marker was the result of that book.
That book isn't published yet?
It's in editing right now in
Okay.
Austin.
So you have 2 books?
Yes, I have another. Yes, the other one is about a steamship, the SS West Texas.
Okay.
And that one is that one's real close to being finished.
We'll watch for it.
It's a very interesting part of Texas history that is fascinating. When I was working on the other book, I got distracted because I picked up a little bit of information on this steamship called the SS West Texas. What is that? I put it over here, but I couldn't get it out of my head, so I had to. I put this off to the side, and then I started working on this. And simultaneously, I finished both of those. But to me, they're super interesting time period in Texas history.
Absolutely.
And things that people just forgot about. How West Texas cotton actually got to Philadelphia. Philadelphia at the time in 1920 through 1928 was the largest textile industry in the entire world. They needed West Texas cotton terribly bad. West Texas cotton was of the highest quality in the world at that time. There was no way to ship it there other than rail. Well, my ship that I'm writing about, SS West Texas, from the port of Houston, would ship West Texas cotton directly to Philadelphia, and so they did that twice a week and what have you. Then the ship went to war in the South Pacific, and it had another life. And I'm just finishing up the book right now. But it's a super interesting about West Texas cotton, how it actually got all over the world and to the textile industries back east. And people have no idea. I didn't until I started doing the research. But it involves, a lot of the book involves the particulars of Turkey, Kittiquay, Plainview, Silverton, and the different towns along the way here, and how I think important they were to the commerce and the growth of the Panhandle, Texas Panhandle. So all of that is wrapped up in that book, but I'm a history nut and I enjoy it very much. I restore these buildings not because I'm gonna we don't charge. Bob Wills, they start cutting hair at 7 in the morning and they end at 7 at night, but we don't charge anything for haircuts. So we don't need to make $1 off anybody. We just want people to come in and enjoy themselves and just sit in the barber chair and look and experience what it would have been like to sit in this barber chair in 1925. It's an absolutely wonderful feeling. And people get their haircut, they sign the book, they don't want to leave, and then they get their haircut, and they stand there, and they're still looking in the barber shop. It's a lot of fun.
God bless you for doing this, because we appreciate it. And so I want to thank you very much for letting us in and telling and sharing your story.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time, because situations like this where I might be interviewed, I don't know who, it might have a far reach and maybe not, I'm not sure, but if it reaches 1 or 2 or 3 people that can be inspired by these types of stories, well, they might have a building, they might have an idea, they might have something. And it's a shame that so many of these buildings that are so important to our heritage are falling, they're collapsing, and there's very few and far between people who are interested in bringing them back to life. And so my wife and myself are kind of, we're fanatical about that. This Phillips 66 gas station in Turkey, Texas,
Yes.
It was the very first Phillips 66 ever in Texas.
Can we do that here?
Sure.
Okay, so we can adjourn here.
Sure.
And we'll take up the story of gas station in front of the gas station.
That sounds wonderful.
Thank you so much, Mike.
You're quite welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll see you there.
Okay, see you there.
Enjoy.